Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Bass University Live. Same place as always, every Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. You know where to find us. We have a fun show lined up for you guys this week. And our main man, Pete Justin, he's down at the Berkeley HQ doing a little preview of some awesome Berkeley baits that they're going to be dropping here real soon this year. So we won't have Pete with us, but we're going to do our best to hold it down because we're talking swim jigs, Justin. That's wheelhouse stuff.
Sure is, especially for us Chesapeake Bay guys, man. We need Stevie Sass on here to talk a little bit about the tinsel on the swim jig, but maybe Will knows a little something about that tinsel too. But
we might have to drop Stevie a link for the
we might, but yeah, I'm stoked to talk about throwing the swim jig around and just that whole Okeechobee event, man. That was one of the best tournaments I've watched in I feel like probably 2 years or so out from Bassmaster. It was just the coverage was great. The halftime shows iffy, but hey, well, the coverage of the actual fishing was really good.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to talk to Will about it.
Yeah, for sure. We're coming off the first 2 weeks of the Elite Series. It's been awesome events. Congratulations to Bill Lowen and Brandon Polinick. We'll definitely be talking to those guys down the road about those wins and diving into some of those strategies. But for this week, guys, swim jigs are something we can always get excited about. And we have an amazing guest today, Will Davis Jr., a back-to-back national champion. I mean, hey, if he three-peated last year, which he was right on the cusp of doing, Bass might have had to implement a rule called the Will Davis Jr. rule, but he's also a Bassmaster Elite Series champion, and we're excited to talk to him today. Let's bring him on. Will, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, Rich. How you doing, Justin?
Good, man.
Awesome. Appreciate y'all having me on.
We're excited to have you on, Will. Congratulations, coming off of yet another a great year last year. You're back in the Classic. Man, you've started off with a bang already this year with a great finish at Lake Okeechobee. Man, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Just got home yesterday and drove all day, and it feels good to be home, and it feels good to do good in the first two tournaments. It's always a plus when you start the year out good. You got to, because these guys are so good that if you slip up any, they're gonna catch you, and any time that you can catch them right out the gate, it's a plus.
Absolutely, it is. And man, we wanted to dive in with you on something, Will, just because it got us in-house Bass University reps excited to see you start the day off on Sunday with a giant on a swim jig. And man, you come from a swim jig family, and you have a lot of history there. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Davis Bait Company, my dad started about 40 years ago and has really took off with it the past 20 years. We've all had every business and has had ups and downs, especially with the economy, but things are going good. We're very blessed. And coming from that, man, I'm very blessed to be raised in a family that's had me around the fishing community my whole life. And I've learned a lot from my dad, and he's one who taught me to fish. And, I started swimming a jig like when I was like 8 years old, and that's one of the deals that my first time to Okeechobee, I was 10 years old. He was fishing a Federation regional championship down there. And It was the one that Greg Benson won. And we spent a lot of time down there during that time. And I love that lake, which has changed completely from now, from then. And it's a swim jig, frogging, any type of power fishing shallow that a man could want. And, during the course of practice, one day on day one, I caught a rain come in and I started swimming the jig and had no lie, I caught like 40 fish swimming a jig. And, I say that. Now I took a Carolina rig keeper. Blue Days makes that Carolina rig keeper, and I put it over my hook after I caught an 8 and a 9, and I said, I better put a hook, cover it up.
Yeah.
And I had like 40 bites in 2 sections on the river, so I had that in the back of my pocket, if that other deal didn't work out. So, but swimming a jig in Florida is as good as it gets.
Absolutely. It sounds like that. Talk a little bit about that, the practice strategy with swimming a jig, and is it a cover? Are you looking to cover water, or is it just it's a powerful bite triggering technique? Dive in on that.
So using a swim jig, you can cover a lot of water in a quick time. And with just a 3-day format of practice in the Elite Series, I didn't go practice Okeechobee. So I knew that I had to find the right areas that had the most activity. And by using that swim jig, I knew that them fish were going to be shallow. Some of them was spawning, some of them was coming, all 3 phases. And I just needed to find the right stretches that had the right vegetation, the right bottom. With that being said, I had to find the sand and the rock, and I didn't really realize that until I started, dissecting the pattern that I was doing. But what I was doing on day 1 of practice, we had a big front come in and started raining, so I picked up a swim jig. That's the most effective time you can swim a swim jig, is early in the morning, right at day or dusk, or when it's raining. That's the best time to swim a jig. For me, it is, at least. And that pressure dropped, the rain came in, and I started swimming that jig, and I found me a couple sections in there. And I did not hit that during the first 2 days of competition, because I found another area up the lake that, Pollock ended up winning on.
Right.
So I was going to, use that for the first couple of days, or at least day 1, and see how it went from there. Because when you're practicing for a 4-day event, and during that practice time, you have to find fish that can get you through day 1 and day 2, and then you have to figure it out on day 3 and day 4. Most of the time, you have to prepare yourself for a 4-day tournament. Most time, one place don't pay off like that. It did for Brandon. And I believe if we didn't have so much pressure on that, I think me and him could stay there the whole time. But that's just how fishing is. And, you just have to go with the flow on that. So day 3, I was like, let's start with this swim jig on these areas. And I caught like 20 fish swimming the jig early. No big ones. I caught like 1 4-pounder. But later that day, the sun popped up, and I started going real slow down the banks, and that I was getting bit on. And I started noticing these beds up there, but they were hard to see because there was so much boat traffic up and down that river that it was muddying up the water. Not bad, because most of it's sand up through there, but it was just enough where it would turn it just a tint different. And I started using my forward-facing sonar, and I'd swim that jig and I'd watch it come out. And if one followed it out and he wasn't around a mat, then I would put a waypoint down or put my Raptors down and watch him. After I got my jig in, he'd swim right back up there. Well,
wow.
I would go down the bank a little bit more, and I find another buck that would swim, come out. And I marked that, and I went right above there, and I looked, and I saw 2 big females in one bed. And I was like, what? And they were like, both of them, they was, tailing, or however y'all call it, fanning or whatever they was doing, but their tails were out of the water. Like they was using their heads and stuff. It was weird on one bed. It wasn't a female and a male, or a buck or a male or a female. It was 2 females. And I was like, cool. And I thought it was tilapia, but it wasn't. And I fished for them fish forever and ever, and I couldn't make them bite because they wouldn't stay, still. And I finally seen the buck swim up there on my forward-facing sonar. So with that being said, the next day I started on that big bed that had the 2 big females, and I caught that 7-1 just instant. And that's what I was talking about, low light. That was when you can really make hay during that situation. So back to the buck situation, right above there, I found a couple bucks up there. Well, I started noticing, I threw my swim jig up there later in the day. I couldn't make no more females bite that morning. So later in the day, I went back to that area where I had all them bucks marked, and I'd see these big females on my forward-facing sonar sitting right behind them, like out in the river, 10 to 15 foot, and they'd ease up there and they'd ease back, just like a normal bedding fish would be or do.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't care if you threw dynamite on them, they was not gonna bite. And I was like, what is going on? So, Tim Doobie gave me a big glide bait the second day, and I was like, I've done thrown this thing at multiple fish, and they'll chase it. It's just very, very discouraging when you throw it out there and they fall all the way to the boat, and they just, you can't make them bite. But this one female, I done fished for her for like an hour, and I was like, let me just throw it one time. I threw it up there, and man, she come out there and followed it, and I like double twitched it real quick, and man, she locked it up. So, but that swimming jig got me to that fish, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, it does. It does. So just to clarify, when you located those fish, that was on day 3 of the event, right?
Day 3.
Day 3. Now, were you opting intentionally not to catch those bucks that you said were following your swim jig out?
Yes, at that time, because I already had, I think I had like 13, 14 pounds. And It's weird down there. Most of the bucks were small. It wasn't like St. John's where they were a big one down there would be like 4 and a half.
Right.
These bucks were small.
Gotcha.
I mean, like a pound 6 to 2.5 pounds, 213. That's a big buck down there. So I knew by catching them that it wasn't going to do me no good.
Gotcha.
And I'd rather try to catch that female first, because a lot of times once you catch that buck and you put him in a live well or something, like if you needed him, then she's going to, it's really 50-50, or really it felt like it was 70-30 that time. If you caught the buck 70%, she wasn't going to pull up there.
Gotcha.
So the buck needed to be up there for her, because they was in that stage of bumping and doing all their whatever they do up there. They were in that stage, so that's why that female was up there to do what they do.
Gotcha.
So catching that buck, it was not really the deal during that time. Now in the morning time, it didn't matter. You just pull up down a stretch and start swimming that jig, and you catch what you could catch to get that weight, and then knowing where them big females set up later in the day to start on them females the next morning, that was the difference.
Gotcha. So you mentioned low light, and I want to talk a little bit more about that, Will, because you were getting after these fish in the mornings quick. Like it wasn't taking you very long to get to your stuff before Bass Track was lighting up with Will Davis Jr. And is there anything, are you doing anything to your swim jigs unique, in low light situations?
Absolutely. So the Davis Beast, the swim jig that I was throwing, I got one right here, but it's a quarter ounce.
Quarter.
So a quarter. So because these fish were super shallow, and it's a white and chartreuse skirt on there, and I was using. This is actually the one I was throwing. It's missing an eyeball and everything else. The skirt's all messed up and everything else. But this right here is a big bite fighting frog that I put on there. Yeah. It don't have it don't put off a lot of vibration. It puts off the right action for them fish that's really not in an active mood or a biting mood to come up there and bite it. If these fish would follow it out, you wouldn't get them to bite. These fish bit within 2 foot of the bank, the bigger ones. And with this setup right here, I just felt like that I got the most, the bites that I could during that time frame, because the bait was being so subtle, but a bigger profile bait, being that 4-inch fighting frog on there. With it coming by them, it's got that length and the right action for them bigger females to make the move to bite it.
Gotcha. Talk a little bit about the action that you impart on the bait.
So the action, what I'm looking for when I'm swimming a jig, during the spawn time of the year. I don't
Right.
want nothing that's real, real erratic or anything that's real. I want something that's subtle, but it's got not dead looking like a
Right.
pig and a jig in a brush pile. I just want something that's going to kick a little bit and make it look as real as it can as soon as it comes off the bank.
Okay.
And one of the big deals was swimming this jig in Florida was you didn't want to make a big splash with it. You want to make accurate cast. A lot of times I would throw up on the bank and pop it off the bank to not spook them fish. Because if you ever landed on top of them or anything like that, you could hang it up. So being very precise in your cast was the key, and being the most subtle and realistic that you could make the bait was the key to getting them bigger bites.
Gotcha. So it was not only the swim jig wasn't only a great tool for locating them in practice. It also was putting them in the boat for you. And so what you said was that those larger ones, they were on bed or close to bed, right? Now,
That's right.
To me, swim jig. I mean, I throw a swim jig a lot, but if I'm thinking about bedding fish, a swim jig is not the first thing that comes to mind for me, but obviously it is for you. Is that a confidence deal, or is there more to it?
Yeah, it's a confidence deal. And there's pros to doing that because it's such a bigger bait. With a stain water or a different water color or clarity like they do have in Florida, it's more darker. They don't get a good look at that bait like it would be in a clear water situation. So swimming that jig, it looks like what made this right here was, if you ever grabbed a bait out of your tackle box and you put it in the water and you're like, ooh, that looks good, it's got a good glow to it. This bait, this setup had that glow, and I was like, as soon as I threw it in practice, I actually caught them down there swimming a jig back in 2020 in a South Super Regional. It was the one that Matt Robertson won.
Okay.
And I caught a bunch of fish the final day doing it, swimming a jig. But I ain't had but 8 pounds. I think I weighed in 15 pounds down there during that time frame for 2 days. It was not a good tournament. But back then, there wasn't near as many fish in that system up that Kissimmee. This time they was. And that color, that white chartreuse with that white fighting frog on there, it gave it that glow and that subtlety of that bait, and just the right action to make them fish. Absolutely. When they hit it, they would knock the rod out of your hand.
Gotcha. So we got a question here on our message board from Ricky Brewer. And Ricky wants to know, Will, what's your preferred setup for fishing a swim jig, rod, reel, line?
Absolutely.
And then also, do you use a specific retrieve all the time, or do you vary it?
I vary it. So, Ricky, this is actually the rod setup and everything. So this rod right here is a FX Extreme. This is an Angler series. This is a new rod company I got with, and man, this is a sensitive rod. It's a 7.3 medium heavy fast. So it's got a light tip on it. So you don't want a rod that's too stiff swimming a jig, but you want to have it just stiff enough. You want to have a good tip on it and a good backbone to work that jig, and also get them fish that's in that heavy cover or a big fish to the boat and land it. With a stiff rod, I feel like you jerk it away from them, and it don't give the action to the bait that you need it to. The reel that I was throwing was a Cast King. This is a Mega Jaws. This is a 9-1-1. I like a fast reel, and the reason I like a fast reel is I don't want them to see it. If a fish comes up there and gets a swim jig, he's gonna get it. There's none of this trying to entice some of this. I mean, you can entice it by shaking the jig like what I'm about to go over, but these fish are right on the bank, so when you throw it up there, they're gonna bite it instant most of the time. So with that 9-1-1 Cast King reel, I could get them fish when they hit it, and I set the hook, they're going to shoot out like a missile. that something done got them, and they know it. So having that higher gear ratio helped me get them fish, keep my line tight on them where they wouldn't come up there and jump it and spit it. So that was a success for that. The line that I was using is SPS Bass Pro Shop braid. It's green, 50-pound test. And another deal that I do is I just take a red magic marker and I color my line like 4 or 5 foot up the line.
Red?
Red makes that line disappear in the water. And I think that's another anything that you can gain an edge on fishing against the best in the world. It can make the difference from first to 101st. So
Wow.
the retrieve, it varies. Like if I'm just fishing down the bank and trying to cover a lot of water, I'll just throw it up there and twitch it, a couple times and reel it and twitch it. But if I'm fishing like a mat or a grass mat, I want that bait to be erratic. I want to, keep my rod up at a, 70 degrees, and I want to, shake it, make that bait dart through that stuff, make it pop, just make it more realistic when you're trying to draw them out of that mat or that vegetation to get that bite. But like them big ones the other day, they was right on the bank. So with that being said, as soon as I clicked my handle and popped it one time, that's when they got it. So 80% of the time, I'm moving that rod to give that bait that jump in action.
Right. Does the quarter ounce, does that almost give you the ability to, and I'm just going to throw a term out here, kind of like float the swim jig in a sense?
Absolutely. That quarter ounce is the perfect weight to make that bait float up there and to work it fast. So if you're throwing a 3/8, something heavier, it would be down there too deep. And them fish, when they bite a swim jig, they're looking up. They're not coming down like a traditional jig on a bottom jig. They're not going down there to bite it. They're coming up to bite a swimming jig. So having that setup, having that fast reel, it really helps keep that bait up there as well.
Right. That's something that's super interesting about how, you were fishing for beds that were you were fishing for bass that were in a phase of the spawn. They might have not been completely locked down.
Right.
Because, like I said, my first thought for bedding fish, it doesn't go to swim jig. It goes to looking down, right? That the fish are going to be looking down into their bed. But it seems the more we've learned in this, there's cross tie-ins to this all over the place with forward-facing sonar and whatever. There is always fish that are looking up to feed.
Yeah, because their eyes are on top of their head.
There it is. There it is, because their eyes are on the top of their head. Do you think that is part of why this style of swim jig fishing that you've laid out here, do you think that's part of the reason why it's been so successful for so long?
Absolutely. And shallower the better, because you're going to swim a jig not 80% you're going to swim a jig from the spawn time of the month to the shad spawn time, from that wherever you're at in the country, from just say that February till June. Any fish that's living shallow, you're going to swim that jig. I mean, you're going to swim it shallow. So you're going to make sure that you keep it up there high in the water column. So that's when you're going to swim a jig, is when them fish are super shallow like that. That's when you're going to get the most bites. Gotcha.
We're going to take one more question from the board here, and then we're going to change gears just a tiny bit, talk a little more about the tournament. Do you trim the weed protector at all on your swim jig? That's from Jeremy Romazan. Sorry, Jeremy, if I said your last name the wrong way, but do you trim the weed protector?
I do. So right here, you see I've got it trimmed back just a hair right here. I trimmed it probably, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch. So traditionally they look, straight like this right here. I really can't get it, but I trim it with a pair of scissors. I'll just take that. Let's see if I can grab this one. So I take and I trim it I hold the bait just like so, and I trim it down. So I want that just right past the hook point, so where it won't get hung up on vegetation. But I don't want it so far out there that it's gonna be too long, and I can't get that penetration on that fish when he bites it. So when that fish bites it, he's got it. You see what I'm saying? So having that trim weed guard, it really helps get the hookup ratio on that. And I trim all of our jigs like that. You can even see where this camera's not. There we go. You can actually see where I took and trimmed that right there, made it less bristles on it on the weed guard. Yep.
Now, is that a case by case basis? Like, will you do more in some instances, less in other instances?
Not really. Not really. Not really. But if you trim it too short, you're going to fight it. You're going to be pulling in everything. So, like the vegetation you're throwing around, or hook a log or something like that. But if you're fishing open water, I've actually cut the weed guard off. So.
Right. And are you braid all the way, all the time?
All the time. I just feel like you don't have the break offs like you would with monofilament or fluorocarbon, because you're violent. You're getting up in their house. I mean, when they bite it, I mean, you want to show them that hey, I got you now. You don't want to play around with them.
Yeah, I like that. So if Will Davis hears that there's a swim jig bite going on, but it's got to be fluoro, you're either going to dismiss it or you're going to prove it wrong.
The only time I throw fluoro, if I'm swimming a bigger jig in current, that's the only time I do it. I don't like braid in current.
Okay. Why?
Because with braid and current, fluorocarbon has weight to it, so it's going to sink. So I can feel that bite better with fluorocarbon in wood/banks with current on it. I can feel it better. Vice versa, grass, fluorocarbon's too heavy, so it's going to make that bait sink faster, and it's not going to keep that bait up there in that strike zone longer for the shallow fish. So that's why I choose braid for the shallow fish.
Braid for the shallow fish and fluoro for the deeper fish in the current. That's good stuff right there. So let's go back in time a little bit here, Will, because like I can't help but reminisce with you for a second, because the first time that we had you on our show, you were fresh off of your first Bass Nation national championship. Man, from then to now, what has changed? How have you changed? Like how different are you feeling going into this year and your next event and now another classic than you were right after you won that national championship?
I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. It was one of them deals that, and even now, I fish harder now than I did then. I know it sounds weird, but I got almost a 3-year-old little girl and a wife at home that I have to perform to put food on the table. It's my job now. So with that being said, I don't take nothing lightly when it comes to my job. It's a full-time job now. I feel like the more preparation that I put into something, the more benefits I'll get from it. So with that being said, I give it all I have. And then at the end of the day, if I don't catch them, then I know that I can sleep at night. So it's a big difference from being a working man, being a quail guide back at 5-star, dreaming of getting to the Bassmaster Elite Series or dreaming to fish the Bassmaster Classic. So actually now, I still dream about it. Don't get me wrong. Right. But now I turned it into that's just the life that we live now. And it's a great life and I love it. But it's a different mentality, a different mindset when you do it for a living.
How much of that mindset now was like a flip? Did you flip a switch, or was it something that has progressed and developed?
Right. It's definitely developed. you have to go through hard times. What I'm saying is you have to go through bad tournaments to get to success. You have to learn how to cope with it,
Yeah.
learn what you've done wrong, how to fix it. Even the best in the world still have bad tournaments. I mean, it's just part of the nature. And but at the end of the day, if you give it all you got, then there's nothing you can hang your head on. I mean, head down about. So it's I love my job now. I can tell you that. I'm a very blessed man to get to do what I do for a living, and I've been watching Bassmaster Classic since I've been able to remember. And when Elite Series came out, and watching Van Dam and Iaconelli and Bill Owen and Aaron Martins and all them Skeet Reese and so on and so forth, I wanted to be them. Them guys right there is who I looked up to, and to get to have that opportunity now is just crazy to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what does your process look like for your preparation now? Because you very clearly mentioned that it is your job. You treat it as such. What does that process look like, Will, from the time that you're, before a tournament, leaving to go, getting there? Walk us through that a little bit, man, that process.
All right. So it all starts soon as season's over. Just say if you're a new guy, just say in my shoes. All right. I already know when the schedule comes out. I know where we're going. Then I look at the weather. I look at first off, I look at Google Earth. That's the best thing that you can have.
Right.
You can't get no info.
Right.
So you got to take what the lake gives you and put it to the strength that you know that you're capable of using. So I'm going to look at that lake, and I'm going to figure out what baits I need for that situation. The preparation to get started for that season. I was out there. I ordered all my stuff from my awesome sponsors and got all my stuff in. And it took me 3 weeks out there in the boat to get. I'm talking about 3 weeks. We're talking about 10 hours a day.
Is this for this year, Will?
This year.
Okay.
Getting all your tackle organized, getting everything, your line, your rods, you're getting the reels, you're getting the rods. And with that being said, I'm a blessed man to get to work for these fine sponsors that believe in me. And, we couldn't do it without the sponsors. There's no way you could do it. But with that being said, you got so many hours in prepping to get yourself ready for that 8-hour day on day one of that tournament. So it's a lot of time getting prepped for these deals, mentally, physically. You got to make sure you're staying in good shape because it wears on your body. You don't sleep good, and you do a lot of praying. But it's one of them deals that you get what you put in it. And I've realized that even working flipping burgers at one of these guys' restaurants around here. If you're gonna flip burgers, you better be the best flipper that they've ever seen. That's just how I was raised, and like I said, this is my job now, and I give it everything I have now. But the preparation is what makes you.
Gotcha. Talk a little bit about your development as an angler. Like what beings that when you won that national championship and you got thrust onto the Elite Series, instantly it became your job. You were a great angler before that. Obviously, we all know that. But where do you feel like you are now compared to then, and why?
I wanted to be the best out there, and I think we all do. And at that time, I just wanted to make the Bassmaster Classic. That's all I dreamed of. And when I had that opportunity to make the Elite Series, it was even more of a dream come true, the Classic and the Elite Series. And after being sixth in an angler a year, I kind of figured that, this is tough, but I can do this.
Sure.
And then I go all the way up north and finish 96 at St. Clair. And that was one of the longest rides I've ever had back from up north. And I knew right then that you have to be mentally prepared to get your butt handed to you. And you gotta treat good tournaments just like you do bad tournaments. Once it's over, you think about it for a day, and then you go on to the next one. But you build that confidence in you, that you can compete with these guys, and you're here for a reason, and that goes for everybody in every sport. That you can do this and give it all you got, and if it don't work out, it don't work out. You go back to doing whatever job you got, but you've got handed this golden opportunity to do something for a living. So you go out there and you get some success, and you have to build on that confidence. And if you ain't got confidence in this game, then you can just hang it up. I mean, you're betting on yourself to compete against the best guys in the world, and without having that want to attitude and the confidence, you're not gonna last long in the League Series.
Well, Will, I mean, you guys, everybody saw on live that everybody was sharing water in that area. How was your approach, so to speak, sharing water with Greg and Brandon and Doobie? I mean, you guys, everybody talked about it on stage during weigh-ins, how you guys all worked together very well. Can you take us through like how that was for you mentally, like sharing water, watching other guys catch fish, that type of thing? I mean, yeah, just break that down for us.
Right. So 4:30 on day 3 of practice, I pull in there and I see all these fish out there on the Four Faces sonar, and I knew it was a high spot out there, and I fished it back in 2020 when I was there, and they wasn't there, didn't catch them. And I fished it back in 2023, my first Elite Series, and they wasn't there either. They was all on the bank then. And so I pull up there and I see them out there, and I make one cast and I lose one, throw out there, lose one, and I catch a 7-pounder. Well, Tim Doobie's right there on the bank, and he's my roommate, and we talk about everything, and we share stuff, and he wasn't on nothing, and I wasn't on nothing but that swim jig bite. And I told him to come out there, and I only had them 2 bites, and he come right beside me, and I threw out there, and I caught that 7 or whatnot. And he's like, oh my gosh, did you see all them down there? And I said, absolutely. I said, well, I think we both gonna be all right. Next morning, I'm boat like 44 or something like that. I'm first one gets there, and I get there. I ain't picked up a rod. I knew Tim was coming. Tim pulled up right beside me, and then it wasn't just a second. Here come Greg DePalma. I call him Diploma. It's DePalma. He comes up, sits right beside us, and here comes Brandon. He comes around. He's like, man, he said, I knew it was gonna be this way. He said, there's too many fish here. He's like, this is the only place I can get bit. We said, well, come on in. And he came on in, and Millie, hush. Hush. That's my Cocker Spaniel. So he comes in there, and I catch a 6-pounder. Tim catches a 5. I catch a 2-pounder. Greg catches 8, 11. And Polnick's like, what? And the Polnick catches a 5 then. We're all throwing different baits, if you know what I mean. I'm dragging a big worm. Tim's dragging a big worm, and I don't know what Greg's throwing, a crankbait or something. Then Brandon's throwing a Nico rig. But we all we got talking, just sitting there, and was like, "Hey, this is something special. Let's coordinate on this. If we're all good, stay on the same page. I think we can all catch them." And we all was like, "Absolutely." So it rocked on, and I think 11 o'clock, I ain't having 2 fish. I was like, "What in the?" I think Brandon went up the bank and came back, and I pulled out one of our shaky heads. It's called a little wheel shaky head with a red bug worm on it, 6.5-inch worm. I want a spinning rod, throw it out there, and I catch a 7.4. I said, golly. Well, then we're all like back in right there, and then I catch a 6.13, and then a 5-pounder. I'm like, good. And then I never got bit again. But the reason I get bit again was because Brandon's like, all right. Brandon knew I was on the stretch, the 5 to 10 foot I had,
Right.
because we was all casting over everybody, and I was closest to the dam, and it was Tim, Polnick, and then Greg. I had the one little section that ended up being the winning section right there. I don't know how it worked out. It's just how it ended up playing out. And about that time, he said, I told him that morning, I said, hey, when I catch my big ones, you pull in right here. Whoever wants to, you pull right in. Well, Polnick's back there, just goofing off, right there behind us. And I catch that big one. My last big one, I had like, 26, whatever. And I said, all right, come on in here. Turn around and let him slide right in there. And, that's how we worked, and it was very cool. And it was very rewarding to be able to share water with, good guys like that. It's just hard to do that mentally. That can spin you out when you don't have nothing. And I'm about to get to that. When you don't catch them.
Right.
Second day, we was all like, which boat number you are? Which boat number you? And, I was the last one to get there on day 2. And they're like, oh, they're sitting up on top. They're sitting on top. Come 11 o'clock, I ain't got a fish. I don't think Brandon caught a good one, but we all didn't have nothing. Well, Greg left, and I left, and Tim and Polnick stayed. Well, I go out there and swim my jig, and I catch a couple, and I come back in there with like 2.5 hours left. I was like, golly, dude, I got to catch something. And I pull up, and Tim was fishing for a 7-pounder on the bank over there. Polnick's sitting right over there on the deal, but then fish positioned behind this high spot in that trough that met the bank. It was a ditch. It was a high spot, then a ditch, and then the bank. So then fish with us pressuring, they fell off in that, and they was roaming back and forth. Well, Polnick having it, to himself, he could work around it. However, well, he positioned and he found out, or figured out where the fish went to and lined up on them, and he catches a good one, and I ease over to him, and he catches a 9 and an 8 right beside me. I'm talking about right beside me. And if I tell you that don't crush you,
Yeah.
mentally I was like, you know what? They're still here. I'm gonna catch them.
Right.
In one way, one aspect of it, but the other aspect was like, you should have never left. You're crazy for leaving. And now he's got the upper hand on you.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's got 34 pounds or whatever he had. Unbelievable bag of fish. I said, hey, my time. My time to get in there. Yeah. And I said, you mind if I get a bait from you? He said, absolutely not. He handed me a bait, and I get in the same spot, and I fish for an hour. Now, they would move back and forth, back and forth. I can't tell you how many times I had a giant follow it to the boat and didn't get it. And I was doing the same thing he was doing, but he already caught them in that one window when they were biting.
Right.
He had them fired up. So that was very humbling, very humbling. But I pulled off of it, got right over there on another deal that was right behind it, and I caught 2 4-pounders. That ended up, and a keeper, so they ended up saving the day. But it can wear on you mentally, big time. And after that, he already had like a 25-pound lead on me or something like that. So I told him that night told him and Greg that they would not see me back in there. I mean, they would not see me back on the juice Now it looked like I was wrong, fishing their same stuff when I went there on day 3, but they don't understand, people that was watching. Let me tell you exactly what went on. There's one little high spot in there, and back behind them, it made another little high spot. But that high spot was dead for most of the whole tournament. The first high spot was about 40 feet long by 15 foot wide. That's where it went down. And I knew it wasn't big enough for all of us to fish it. And they already caught what they needed to win this tournament. And I knew that it would have to be a miracle. And I told them, I said, y'all got my word. I'm going to come in there and I'm going to hit right behind y'all, but I'm not going to hit that 40 by 15 section right there. And I didn't. And he ended up winning off that one spot. But it blew my mind how many fish of that caliber was there. And we weighed in over 100 pounds off of it on day 1. It's
Insane.
unreal. Unreal.
Were any of those fish, they talked about it on the live a little bit, but I just want to get your opinion. I mean, were fish pulling in there, or were they all residential fish that were living in there? I know Polnick talked about it a little bit on live, but what was your take on that?
It was a little bit of both. I think we had the first day that we had some coming. It was some resident, but there's no way you can win a tournament off of one spot like that unless they're coming.
Right.
And it's just one of them deals that it was the perfect situation. It was a hard spot. It was a high spot. Right there, the last place they could get, and the water was clean in that Kissimmee, and the lake seemed like was in bad shape for me. The water clarity wasn't good, and these fish love clean water in Florida, and so it was just a perfect storm for that one area. It was unbelievable, man. I'll never forget just seeing the land of giants getting caught that first day around me, and me catching them too. I mean, you see a guy catch an 811 or 29 pounds right beside you, and then seeing Brandon catch 34 pounds right beside you. You don't forget that. It's one of them just special deals. Of course I'm there to win. Of course you are, but you got to be happy for them guys because you shared that water with them, and we all respected each other, and it was just all in all just an awesome experience.
Yeah, I wonder how many boats are sitting on that spot right now
with live shiners.
Yeah, with live shiners, just jacking them.
Oh man, they sure are. Well, Will, you got another derb coming up here in just a few weeks, and it happens to be the big one, the creme de la creme, man. Where's your head at going into another Bassmaster Classic? Because, man, I'm telling you, watching you guys, you were all sharing water. 1, 2, 3, 4 guys. Will, you want to win. I know that about you. You want to win. Like you have a different type of edge. I talk to so many people. I meet so many anglers of your caliber, but certain people just have a little different edge, Will, and you got it. And you're getting ready to go fish.
I appreciate that.
Classic, man. Where's your head at? What are you? Is it on the front of your brain at all times right now? Like what's going on?
Yeah. The Classic is one you want to win. You want to win them all tournaments, but the Classic is one of them that you want to win more than any tournament, period. And going into this 2025 Classic, I don't think I can be more mentally prepared for a tournament than I am right now. Not saying that braggingly, but
sure.
I'm just, and I could not do good in this tournament, or I could win it. But I feel like my decision making right now is as good as it's ever been on the water and off the water. My home life's great right now. everything's great, and it all starts being a competitor. If mama ain't happy or stuff's not going good at home, you're not going to do good on the road. And that's just with everything in life. Everybody's in good health. So when I leave, that's the main thing. Everybody's in good health at the house. And with me being on the road, having everything in order helps me focus that much harder. So right now, God has blessed me and my family, and I'm looking forward to this 2025 Classic. I'm focused, and I'm ready to go out there and give it all I have.
Well said, man. Well said. Well, Will, thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time today, man. It's always great to see your successes. We don't expect to see them slow down at all. We're always in your corner, man, and we'll be seeing you at the Classic. We'll be jaunting around during media day, so we'll definitely have to come and check you out. But man, good luck at the Classic.
Yeah, Will, good luck, man.
Thank you.
I'll have some tough questions for you at media day.
Awesome, I'm ready.
We'll get with you at media day, man, and we'll be rooting for you. So good luck, Will. We'll see you at the Classic.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, guys. Man, that was fun talking with Will about the swim jig, and then just diving into the tournament fishing world as well. It gets me fired up to get ready to go throw a swim jig, Justin. It's right around the corner.
I'm ready, man. I might just be switching back to braid strictly for throwing a swim jig this year. Will might have put me over the edge there. I've been switching back and forth, but let's be honest, nothing beats a swim jig bite on straight 50-pound braid, just jacking them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped for Will. I feel like he's going to have a great Classic. He's as consistent as they come, man, and he's always got the right attitude. So I'm always rooting for Will.
For sure. Well, awesome. Let's take a quick commercial break here. We're going to come back with a second segment. We're actually going to do something fun in this second segment. We're going to be talking to a Bass U guy. You've seen him on the show before. Lou Monetti, Bassmaster Classic qualifier through the college bracket. He's an OG Ranger aficionado, and he's going to break down a few things for us with Bizz baits that you can get on Tackle Warehouse. So we'll be excited to talk to him. We'll see you on the other side.
We're off the clock to clock more fish, to fill our live wells and empty our coolers, because there's more to explore. The latest Humminbird fish finders work fast, see clearly, and know all the best spots. They fish even smarter paired with the Minn Kota and break down the water like never before. If you like your plans loose and lines tight, then it's time to explore. Only with Humminbird. Get right to the fight. New Mega Live 2 forward-facing sonar puts you on more fish with an ultra-clear, rock-solid picture of underwater action. Next-gen clarity, next-level fun. Only with Humminbird.
Right here, AquaView, mandatory equipment in my boat. I say it all the time. The smallmouths hide in the cracks in the rocks, and just saw a little bit of the same kind of rock with the cracks in it. And I realized that I had to put a bait down there. You wouldn't, idle over them and see them on your screen. You had to put a bait down there and suck them out of the rock. So, AquaView, big assist on this one.
And outdoors Bassmaster Classic champion,
Coffee. The angler's ritual. A reason to leave your cozy covers, even if you aren't headed to the river. We started Angler's Coffee because, well, we love to fish, we love coffee, and we care. Think of it as the rise before the rise.
original Element rods were really Cashin's first launch, kind of in a price point level. With that, we got a lot of feedback. And that's what brought about the Element Z2 and its launch. The most affordable American-made rod on the market.
Mother Nature may be tough. I'm tougher. I'll take you where chaos is the cost of entry and where the fish are worth the fight. Because the bigger the question marks, the better the quest.
Welcome back to Bass University Live. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're going to do something in this second segment, a little different here. We're going to talk to a friend of the show, Bassmaster Classic qualifier, Louis Monetti from Bizz Baits, and we're gonna talk about what's going on over there, what's hot, what you can get on Tackle Warehouse to help you put a few more fish in the boat. Justin, let's bring them on. Lou, how are you?
What's going on, guys? I'm great. How are you?
We are doing good, man. Not quite as good as you. You're out there. You're traveling the world. You're experimenting with Bizz Baits. What's going on? Tell us a little bit about your journey right now.
Yeah, man. I'm traveling pretty much the Southeast, basically from North Carolina, Charlotte area to the Classic, and then back up a different route to Charlotte eventually, and I'll end up back there in sometime late April, early May. Just kind of showing up to tackle stores, showing everybody, the new stuff we got at Bizz, the old stuff we got at Bizz, kind of all the stuff we got, and fishing my whole way, which has been awesome. I was tuning into what Will was talking about with that swim jig, and man, I was on Mitchell last night, which is one of the Coosa lakes, and it was like 58, 57 degree water temps, high sun, like pre-spawn, and I was swim jigging that water willow. Dude, I couldn't get a bite. I had to break out the scope and do that whole deal, but no, it's been a blast. I've been fishing a ton. I think, like I told you the other day, like, this whole thing is awesome for me just because I'm able to talk about Bizz, kind of share the word on us, and also fish a ton, fish more than I ever really have, and get really sharpened up because I'm planning on getting back on the opens next year. So all is good. How about you guys?
Man, it's all good for us too. We're excited to get going fishing here. It's right around the corner. I mean, it's just it's right on the cusp. As soon as we get back from the Classic, man, we'll be rolling. So that's good. We got something to look forward to. Man, so Bizz Baits, you guys are doing some pretty cool stuff over there. And to a certain extent, you fly under the radar in some areas. You're pretty well known down around your area, but we want to talk about some of what your best sellers are. What are the fish catchers to give our Bash you guys a chance to maybe check some out and put some new baits in their hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a little tiny bit of backstory on us. Brian, my boss and really one of my best friends now, started the company 13, 14 years ago in Chicago, brought it down to the Carolinas, and forever just was a plastic company, kind of started working with lead products the last 3 or 4 years. And now we've really built that line up. Our plastic line, we make all in-house. Our lead line, we're currently making overseas. The quality is phenomenal. We're as, how do I say this, as meticulous as can be with everything that comes in, everything that goes out the door. For the longest time, the company was just built on that, on making a quality product.
Right.
We had some baits. We have some baits to this day that aren't maybe the craziest, newest, most groundbreaking baits you'll ever see, but there's something a little bit different about them, and we maintain that high standard of quality. And so you'll see that with anything you get from us. But this year, we kind of realized, look, we really want to grow this thing. We've been trying to grow it forever, and one of the things you have to do as a bait company is innovate. And so we've got some new innovative products we'll talk about. But going back to what you're saying with Tackle Warehouse, I couldn't tell you, the Tackle Warehouse guys, they'd be able to give you a better, like, I know they have the data on what exactly sells and all that.
Right.
I can tell you from the back end, our experience, you know, being in the shop every day. Obviously now I'm on the road, but for the last 3 years, I've been in-house every day. Our best seller on Tackle Warehouse, bar none, they freaking run us out of our buzz baits. And specifically the dinner bell, but also our single buzz. We've also got a sneaky frame buzz. We got a couple different options for you. And they just go like fire on Tackle Warehouse. That dinner bell buzz, it's a little bit different because it's a clacker style, but it has a solid brass bead that swings around the buzzbait frame, and that's what makes that clacking noise. And so it's just a little bit different pitch. It sounds phenomenal, and for guys that love that loud clacking style buzzbait, I think it's just something that's different, and that's why it sells so well on Tackle Warehouse.
Gotcha.
Me personally, I mean, I like our single buzz a little bit more. I don't know if it's just because I've never really been a clacker style guy, but we have a coating on our buzzbait blades on the single buzz, and that coating, it allows that bait to squeak like right out of the package, like no more hanging it out the window, none of that stuff. I haven't seen another buzzbait that does it quite as well as we do. When you get one of them in your hands, they squeak amazingly just right out of the package. And we offer both of those baits with a hand-tied skirt, as well as with like a frame body. And so it's just like a piece of lead on that hook that you can push your toad up onto. You can push your swim bait up onto. That's obviously something that's become super popular in recent years. And so we kind of catered to that. That's probably number one.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned that you guys are doing some innovative stuff. And when we talked on the phone a little bit leading up to this, one of the things that really stood out to me was you're doing something as it relates to the Jighead Minnow.
Yeah.
Doing something a little different in a time where doing something a little different is everything. What's going on with that?
So yeah, that's our new ring roller head. And it's on its way to Tackle Warehouse. So within the next week or two, I would imagine they'll have it up. And what it is it's a jig head, you know, similar to a lot of the other ones in that it's got a really quality hook in it. It's got a BKK super slick coated hook. And so you get that extra hook penetration. We offer it in 2 different hook sizes for a bigger and a smaller minnow. But what sets it apart, it's, you know, weighted towards the top like a lot of the other ones as well. What really sets it apart is it's got a solid welded ring in the line tie. So imagine a split ring. Saltwater guys will know what I'm talking about here because they live bait hook with a solid welded ring a lot. But we found a way to get it inside of the head or the line tie of that jig hook. And what that allows you to do is forget about a loop knot. If you've heard guys that suggest tying the loop knot, it definitely helps. When you see that bait in the water rolling with the loop knot, it's night and day difference. But if you go on, you know, Knot Wars, or you go and check out some of the YouTube channels that have, you know, knot tying, you know, kind of tests and stuff, the loop knot I don't care how well somebody ties it. I don't care about people saying, oh, I go up in line size and that way I account for it. You can do all that stuff. It's just not as strong of a knot as whatever you tie, whether it be a Palomar, San Diego Jam, an improved clinch, whatever it may be. That loop knot just is not as strong. And so we welded in that ring, that solid ring, and it basically takes the place of the loop knot. You tie straight to it, and it allows that bait the freedom of motion to roll the way you want it to. I think it's a complete game changer. You know, it just basically eliminates a problem. It's not anything that aesthetically is going to look crazy different when it's just sitting in front of the fish, but the action that it allows that bait to have is phenomenal.
Awesome. What else? I mean, give us something in the soft plastic world, man. We've talked about a jig head, we've talked about a buzz bait. I know you guys are diving into soft plastics as well.
Yeah, so soft plastics is kind of where we got our start, and still probably our strongest suiting. We recently, I got one here with me. I should have had a ring roller. We recently came out with this guy. This is the Minnow to go with the ring roller. And so that's a new bait for us. We've got it in, there we go. We've got it in 7 colors, 2 different sizes. The 4.5 comes in a 3.5 as well. It's awesome. It's weighted right. It's got a little bit of that like bigger profile that's similar to like say a freeloader or some of the other baits out there. But instead of just kind of keeping it short, we lengthen that tail a little bit. And so you kind of have the length and the length profile of like a Sakamata winged fluke type of bait, but with that bulkier profile of the freeloader. So you can kind of imitate those shad, you can imitate herring, kind of whatever you're looking for. It's a little bit more, I think it's a little more versatile of a bait compared to the other ones, but it's a solid one. And then just some mainstays of ours, the cutter craw is a fantastic craw. When you look at it, it's similar to a couple of other craws on the market. But if you've ever thrown, I will say it, stay unnamed here, some of those other kind of flappy craws, not one of those flange types, like almost like a curl-tail grub style craw. A lot of them, you'll pitch it out there on, say, a 3/8 ounce jig, and one of the arms will just stay like this. Or, you'll swim it back to you, and same thing. Ours, it's never going to do that. It's effortless action. We've got it in 2 sizes, 3 1/4 and a 3 3/4. So that way you can put it on a bigger jig. You can flip it. You can also go down. You can put it on a finesse jig. You can drag it on a Carolina rig for smallmouth. It's my favorite plastic that we have. I love that bait. I use it kind of for everything. And then our shaky head worm, that's kind of the bait that put us on the map in the Carolinas. It's called the Dizzy Diamond, and it's almost got a paddle style tail, but not quite. Like, it's not like a paddle style tail that when you reel it in, it's gonna kick. It's just a kind of a bulbous tail. And for guys that are looking for something a little bit different than a trick worm on their shaky head or those just straight style worms, it just gives them a different look. And it's phenomenal. All of our plastics are salted and scented as well. And they have a neutral buoyancy, so they don't fall flat on the bottom and they don't stand straight up. They kind of naturally sit in the water column.
Right. Talk a little bit more about the tail on that worm. Is it larger, or does it have an air pocket, or?
Yeah. So here, I can grab you one real quick. Basically, it's like a straight tail worm, and then it comes to a diamond, hence the name Dizzy Diamond. It comes to a diamond shape, and it's a little bit just like bulkier than the rest of the worm. And it just kind of gives those fish something to key into. It gives it a little more action when you're shaking that thing. Here it is. Hold on. I'm getting there. I'll show you the big one, because the big one will be easier to see on. We've got it in a 7.5 as well. And it's the exact same, style, just scaled up. And so there's that worm, right? And there's the tail. It's got that bulbous tail section there that kind of allows for a little extra action. Like I said, this is the 7.5 inch, the normal one, 6 and 6. And then we've got the Ned Dizzy as well, which same tail, just in a Ned profile.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Stuff, man.
That stuff is all available on Tackle Warehouse. We may be limited on some colors on Tackle Warehouse right now. But I know the guys are back at the shop right now. The orders are flying out right now. Guys are loving the ring roller, so they're super busy and backed up. But all that stuff is available on Tackle Warehouse. Not in all of our colors, but definitely our best sellers. And definitely go check them out, guys.
Awesome, man. Lou, are we going to be able to visit the Bizz Baits booth at the Classic? Will you guys be there?
Absolutely. We will be at the Classic. I should know the booth number off the top of my head, but I don't. We're in the room that like all the other retailers are going to be in.
Okay.
And yeah,
Out there with
I
the
think.
horses?
What's that?
With the horses out there in the
yeah.
stockyards? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Very
We're
cool.
gonna be with all the folks you need to be with. I think we're gonna be one of the corner booths, but we are also dropping a new bait at the Classic.
All
So
right.
this is
it's
kind of what's that?
Can you leak it?
Yeah, probably. Just imagine the minnow, but with a tail that does a little bit of that.
Okay.
That's what I'll say.
All right.
It swims, we'll say.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, we'll be dropping that at the Classic, which we're super pumped about. And honestly, we've got a ton of new stuff this year. We're kind of like I said, like it's a year for us where we're trying to expand, trying to innovate a little bit. And so keep us on the lookout, as the year goes on at iCast. We'll have some new stuff coming out throughout the year. We're not just going to be done at the Classic. So we're really looking to expand the line, come out with some sweet stuff this year.
Awesome. Well, Lou, thanks for jumping on with us, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving us the skinny on some of the best biz baits going. And we'll look forward to seeing you at the Classic and next year having you back on as an Open champion and a Bassmaster EQ qualifier.
That's what I like to hear. I agree. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Sounds good, Lou. Thanks. We'll talk to you down the road. All right. Bizz Baits, guys, you can check him out. Lou, like I said, he's a Bassmaster Classic qualifier. He won the college bracket. If you haven't ever watched that, go back and watch it because he won out of the most bad to the bone rig of all time. I'll hint that to you. But Justin, you put together a little tackle warehouse order just here recently, and
I'll dive into a couple
of some of the juice.
Yeah, I might have to hide a couple things here, but I'll give it up for everyone. So, Tackle Warehouse, guys, use the link that's in the description, obviously. Before we get to that, though, I just want to give a quick shout out to Cash and Rods. They just dropped their new Element Z2 rod, and I got to put my hands on them with the Dean last week, and for a $129 rod that's made in the USA, I don't think you can go wrong, man. It's full cork. I mean, it's a clean rod. They have some good actions. Not sure if they're on Tackle Warehouse yet. I don't believe so, but if you are a Bass U member, you can head over to our member benefits and get a discount on those new Element rods from Cashin. But let's dive into what JH ordered on Tackle Warehouse. I'm just going to start with this because, as most of you know, I'm very OCD. I'm a neat freak. Whatever. But I picked up some of these bags from Buzzbee, and I'm honestly in love with them. This is the Quick Cube, the medium size, and majority of the stuff I ordered, I'm fitting in this bag right here. It looks small, but it's completely waterproof, and it stores a ton of stuff. So, couple things that I picked up, man. Got to go with the Megabass Vision 110. This is the plus one in my favorite color here. I think it's called Matte Shad is the color there. It's kind of hard to see with the glare, but that's it right there. I mean, this is the jerkbait that Justin Hamner won the Classic on. So you can't go wrong with that. I'll throw the link in the comments for everybody. If you like what I got, go pick it up. Now this is a sneak crankbait right here. I'm gonna give it up. This crankbait was out of production for probably 2 years. And recently came back to the market, I believe, last year. And I haven't ordered them because I completely forgot that they were back on the market. And I have 2 in my tackle box that I have freaking put back together multiple times because they just catch fish. And that is the Jackal Bling 55 crankbait. This is my favorite flat side in the spring. They have some of the best red colors. It's a balsa bait. It is wood. It casts phenomenal. If you like to own flat side in the spring, this is you got to give these a try. They're a little bit expensive, but they are my absolute favorite flat-sided crankbait for the spring. I'll throw that link in the chat for you guys too. One other thing, I'm not going to claim that I am the best scoper in the world by any means, but something that I have learned as of I wouldn't say as of late, but in the last 6 months that has really helped me get more bites, pinging a minnow, whatever you want to call it, whether you love it or hate it. This is the Jighead that I've been throwing a ton lately, and this is the Queen Tackle tungsten Jighead. Now, my trick with this that I'm sure plenty of people know, but when I first started throwing a minnow, I was throwing a 3/8 or a quarter size Jighead, fishing 15 foot or less for 90% of my fishing. I was limiting myself so much by doing that. Now I'm strictly throwing the 1/8 ounce, the lightest one that I can get away with now. And I go with tungsten. It makes it smaller. You can pair this up with your Sakamadas or your drift fries. But it has improved my scope game significantly by dropping down that size to the 1/8 or the 3/16. It just allows you to float that bait so much better in front of the fish, keep it in the strike zone longer. So maybe it was a mistake on my end in the beginning, thinking that I need to throw a 3/8 or a quarter. But I'm telling you, if you're fishing 15 foot or less, even if you're fishing 20 foot, throw the lightest jig head that you can possible, and your catch percentage, your strike percentage will go up. Promise you. So that's my little trick there. I'm sure majority of the people know that, but it took me a little bit to figure out. Some other stuff I got going on here, man. Strike King Range Bug. Just going to fly through these quick. I know it's a long show. My go-to flipping bait for the spring. The lightest weight you can possibly throw. Flip it around the grass. Flip it around the docks. John Garrett was catching a lot of his fish on that bait there. Got some Senkos, and then I stocked up on my favorite chatterbait trailer. We talked about them last week, but the Zakos. Every spring I got to order like 10 packs of them because I just fly through them. Experimenting with a couple new trailers this year. I'm not going to talk about them because I don't have that much time with them yet, but I'm definitely going to experiment with some new trailers this year. Picked up a couple jigs too. This is the Peak Blues X Special, the Kitech jig. Got a bunch of other stuff here, but really just wanted to show off that crankbait and my little suggestion with the jig head. That's what I got for you, Rich.
Awesome. Well, that's good stuff, man. Guys, don't forget, if you're watching Bass U Live, I see quite a few people watching this week. Thank you. We appreciate you. But we really need you to support the people that support us. Companies like Cash and Rods and Angler's Coffee, and Humminbird Minn Kota, and really everybody you see that's aligned with Bass University on our website and the member benefits page. I'm sure I might have missed a couple. Justin, you can jump in and fill me in there. But
Aquaview.
Those Aquaview, that's another really big one. Those people are the ones that keep us bringing this show to you every single week. So, if you like what you're watching, help us, help you, help them. And you'll get to keep seeing this show every week. I'm gonna bring Jocelyn on here. We're happy to have her with us. Jocelyn, how you doing today?
I'm great. I remembered to unmute myself this week.
Yes, you did. There you go. We're taking steps in the right direction. Joss, we are another week closer to the Classic, and that means that everything is underway. Just remind the folks, everybody here, where are we going to be? Where's it going down at?
We're on the main floor.
Okay.
And our booth is 4017. And we're going to be doing some fun stuff for our already subscribers and new subscribers. So stop on
You're
by.
at the Classic. If you're in Texas, come see us, man.
It's the biggest sale we'll have.
Yep, we're gonna have some fun stuff going on. And if you're not going to the Classic, we have a cool deal that's probably ending today or tomorrow, depending on what decision I want to make here. But the Bassman Bass Shoe Special annual offer, you get 4 Bassman spinner baits. That's valued at like $52 with your annual membership. A money spinner bait.
They are legit.
I got one here for you. Just take a look at. But they are. I've mentioned it on the show before, promoting this offer. One of the best hooks in a spinner bait. It's a finesse type spinner bait, but it gets the job done, and a good man makes them. So if you're not a Bass Shoe member, you're hiding behind the curtains, man. Come on out, grab yourself some Bassman spinner baits. Tons of videos to learn from. We have some fire seminars coming out of the can here, Rich. Drew Gill. This week we're releasing Dakota Ebear. We got a cool on the water class coming out from PG, showing off a cool mag finesse technique. Man, it's a good time to get in the door and get signed up.
Absolutely. A lot of great member benefits that come with it as well. Have we missed anything, Justin? Fantasy.
We got 2 things.
How did it go?
Fantasy fishing. I'm here to tell you guys that I am indeed back on top. 1 week. 1 week, you're gonna keep me down. I passed PG. I think Rich, you definitely had a tough. I don't know if fantasy fishing is your game because you picked all your boys.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna keep rolling with them.
You keep rolling with your boys. I do the same. It messes me up sometimes, but I'm in fact in first place in our Bass Shoe, our work group. I know a lot of you expected nothing less from me, so I'll be sure to have more confidence with my picks next week because I'm back on top.
Listen, I think you got like 940, right?
Yeah, you're not even in the group, are you?
I am.
I
got 928.
Go, Josh.
Wow. Jocelyn, you have to join our work group, not just the public.
I don't know how to do that.
I'll send you a link so that that way I can track your score for the show. But
it says 928.
That's pretty solid. That's better than Pete and Rich. Just saying.
I'm just saying.
But I'll definitely be giving the dean a text message just to let him know. He already knows, but just to reinforce it in his mind that I am in fact back in first place, and I'm going for a 2-time. Moving off fantasy fishing real quick, just want to give a shout out to our sub of the week. He's not wearing a Bass University hat, which is okay, but this is Dylan, and he signed up at the St. John's River elite event. Stefan, our boy, signed him up, and he sent us this picture saying, thanks so much for signing up. He caught this fish off one of the videos he watched, learning a new technique. So shout out to Dylan. If you guys have any picks rocking some Bass Shoe gear, send them over to me on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll have you featured as the sub of the week.
Sub of the week.
Talking a lot today.
Very cool. Well, I think that just about covers it. Guys, thank you for everybody that tuned in. Thanks for all your interaction on the chat board, all your questions. We love to see that stuff, and we are looking forward to seeing all of you guys again next week, you guys and gals, next week for another edition of Bass University Live. We'll see you next week.